Hey guys, it's me, Tantacles. I've received a bunch of questions in my comments about how to allocate elements in Chrono Cross to do the most damage. In this video, I'm going to show you some testing of elements and show you how to use allocation to get the maximum damage from your elements. This should apply whether you're playing the remaster or the PS1 version. And if you don't want to hear about my methodology, there's a timestamp in the video that will take you directly to the testing. And just a couple of self-plugs, please subscribe to the channel, like this video so it gets out to more people who are interested in Chrono Cross, and if you want to come see me do this element testing live on Twitch, I'll have a link in the description with my Twitch details. Now, just a quick explanation of how elements work and why allocation is important. Every element has a set level from 1 to 8. Aqua Beam, for example, is level 1 and Ice Blast is level 4. To use elements, you have to allocate them or assign them to specific spots in your character's element grid that correspond to a level, also from 1 to 8. For example, if I assign Ice Blast, which is level 4 element, to level 1, I get Ice Blast -3. If I allocate it to level 7, we're going to get Ice Blast +3 because we're allocating it 3 levels above its normal level. When you allocate an element lower than its normal level, it loses power, and above, it gains power. But the game doesn't tell you how the elements compare to each other, just that the element power increases or decreases based on allocation. So I did some extensive testing to figure it out. So let's introduce our cast for this video. And trigger warning, be aware that I renamed all of my characters in this playthrough after Genshin Impact characters because Ayato will be my husband. So first, we need a punching bag. The enemy I chose has to be able to take a little bit of a physical beating without dying because that's how you build up your element power. Also, it needs to be easily refreshable in case I kill it, so bosses were out of the question. So our victim for this video is the Snob Goblin. Next are element contestants. They will all be blue. Because the Snob Goblin is green innate and the field in the Hydra Marsh in Another World starts as green, green, yellow, my options for colors were white, black, blue, and red. I chose blue because I have a lot of blue innate characters with different magic levels, so I can reuse some of this footage in later videos. And finally, we need a caster. I chose Fargo, our mermaid booty lover, and a blue innate character with a low magic stat. The blue innate color does matter, which you'll see later in this video, but the low magic power doesn't matter yet. It'll matter in another video. So first, let's take a look at the power of Aqua Beam +1, Ice Blast -2, and Deluge -3. These are all allocated to level 2. I would have used level 1, but you cannot allocate Deluge to level 1 because it's a level 5 element and its minimum level is 2. So first, you'll see that Aqua Beam does 65 damage and Ice Blast does 105 damage. That's about 60% more than Aqua Beam. So I think the result of this test is pretty clear. If you down allocate an element, the higher level element will have more power. However, there's an exception to that, and we can see that when we compare Deluge and Ice Blast. Deluge does 91 damage, 15% less than Ice Blast. Now, I tested this against both single and multiple targets. The result was the same. The reason that Deluge does less is that it hits multiple targets and therefore has a little bit less power to compensate, but when you hit only a single target, it doesn't redistribute that power to only hit one enemy. So that answers the question of down allocation, but what about when you up allocate? Is that any different? Well, take a look at this testing. Ice Blast now does 91% more damage than Aqua Beam, and Deluge now only does 10% less than Ice Blast. Now, with the exception of the black freefall element, all level 5 elements are multi-target. Same with the level 6 elements. What this shows is that as you go higher on your element grid with your higher level elements, the difference between the higher level element damage and the lower level element damage widens, and it becomes even more beneficial to use those higher level elements. In fact, I didn't test this, but it's very possible that at level 8, Deluge would come very close to the damage of Ice Blast or maybe even exceed it. But now we also have Iceberg, the level 6 element, which can only be equipped by blue innate characters. How does that compare to Ice Blast? And of course, that's why I had to use Fargo in this testing, because he can use Iceberg and other innate characters can't. So Iceberg does 169 damage, while Ice Blast did 155. So the result, even though Iceberg is multi-target, it still does more damage than Ice Blast at any level. Granted, it barely wins out because it's multi-target, but if you can use level 6 elements, you should be using them instead of level 4 elements. Now, just to let you know, I did test each of these elements multiple times, so I know that this isn't a fluke. In future videos, though, I'll be looking at all of the multi-target elements and comparing them to their single-target counterparts in the same element. The goal will be to determine the breakpoints where using a single-target element becomes more beneficial than using a multi-target element. So let's summarize the results here. For starters, don't be a Snob Goblin villain in my Chrono Cross videos. Seriously, that guy got wrecked. Okay, but in terms of gameplay, here's how to use allocation to maximize your element damage. Whenever possible, use your highest level element and allocate it down rather than allocating your lower level elements up. The only exception is your level 5 elements. If you need to hit multiple targets, use your level 5 element. It will do more damage. However, if you need to hit a single target, your level 4 element will do more damage than your level 5 element. And of course, your level 6 elements will wreck everything, so use those if you have a character of the correct innate color. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I did test the level 2 and 3 elements, and they are weaker than the level 5 elements. So there's really no point using those if you have access to level 4 and 5 elements. Well, I hope this guide was helpful. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I will see you in the next one.